Hey everyone, it's Joe Waxman, and in this video, I want to look at the chart of recently deceased Aaron Carter, the pop singer. Uh, yeah, guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you have not already. Uh, I never even knew Aaron Carter existed, if I'm going to be honest with you, until he died. I mean, he wasn't super famous, and he didn't have, I don't know. I mean, the main thing is that he died young. I guess that's really the curiosity. So let's look into it. All right. And I'm going to get into the transits and possible astrological explanation of why he died. But let's look at his life. All right. December 7th, 1987. Singer-songwriter and teen pop singer in the late 90s. Preteen and teenage audiences. He began performing at the age of 7. So his brother Nick Carter was in the Backstreet Boys. The ridiculous boy. I mean, I guess they were popular, but to me, it's quite ridiculous to a lot of people. It's silly pop boy music. Horrible, horrible, horrible music, but a lot of teeny boppers like it. People with no personality and no taste. I mean, if I'm being honest, but whatever, sort of like the bubble gum of music, the the candy bar of music. Anyway, self-titled debut album at age 9 in 97, sold 1 million copies. Second album sold 3 million copies. He made guest appearance on Nickelodeon, and he also had involvement with Disney. And what's interesting, they always do this with Nickelodeon and Disney. They take these cute little kids and then they completely corrupt them. That's intentional. It's to set the trend where you reel in these pure innocent little kids, and then you get them corrupted with drugs, sex, and alcohol. You can completely destroy their lives, and like they do that again and again and again. It's on purpose. I mean, that's not just conspiracy theory. There's documentation to prove all of this, that they get these the girls to be overly dressing in like overly provocative sexual stuff, and it's very, very disgusting, insidious, dark stuff going on there. So platinum in 2002, and in 2002, the musician released what would be his last studio album in over 15 years. So he's taking long breaks, right? So that's important to note. He appeared Dancing with Stars and a Broadway musical, several one-off performances, and then he released some singles. And if you've seen pictures of him more recently, he looks awful. Like his whole face is tattooed up like really badly, like all around. He looks terrible, right? He had a sister who died young, who died at age 25 from drugs. She was a singer. So, the brother, Nick Carter, was a singer in Backstreet Boys. Aaron Carter was a singer on his own. The singer's sister, who died of drugs. And he got the blame for it. And there was a lot of apparent abuse in that family between the siblings, even, which is crazy, right? Apparently, he accused his sister of sexual abuse. Imagine that. It was, I guess, an older sister. Well, how 1 year older, that she was abusing him sexually. It doesn't really make sense. I mean, but whatever. There's a lot of weird stuff. But he died of drugs, apparently. he was also into, he also came out as bisexual, and he also had a OnlyFans in which he did some nude shots, nude, maybe for money, but apparently, I mean, I guess it was okay with him. He didn't mind. He had a lot of different girlfriends. He had some mental health issues, and they, yeah, they're pointing to drugs, but it could have been other things. It could have been messy. It could have been anyway. He did not get this thing, the squirty jab, and he was not allowed to be a part of a Naked Boys singing production in Vegas. Anyway, let's go to his astrology. Some people had wondered if it was due to the jibby jab, his death, but apparently not. In any case, he's got a lot of first house activation here, first and 12th, but Sun in Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is one of the most beloved signs. Like, if you go into the astrological community, people really love Sagittarius because it's so fun. It's very adventurous, philosophical. Sag are love to have, love to go on adventures. Sagittarius are really fun people. So I imagine he was, had a great energy about him. Really love to, celebrate and party, and Sag are partiers. They're celebratory. They're very fun. They're very very high energy type people, and generous, big, Jupiterian ruled, things like that. Sun it's in the 12th, but influencing the ascendant, so it's not too far behind there. Excuse me. The 12th house is going to be good for creativity and anything artistic, subconscious, acting, performance, that sort of thing, because it brings out the alter ego. Excuse me. If it's not too restricted, Saturn's kind of closed here, so there is some restriction from due to Saturn, and that's also influencing his ascendant quite strongly, as well as Uranus. And Saturn can be, very restricting, right? There were issues of him being underweight. He's 6 foot, so he's kind of tall, but at various times in his life, he would indulge in, I guess, prescription drugs, they were saying, benzos and opiates, and he'd be very underweight. He went into rehab, things of that nature. But that's typical with, when Saturn is strongly influencing the ascendant lord, Sun. The person could be underweight or overly restricted in their diet or in other ways. Saturn tends to do that. And Uranus also is tightly conjunct the ascendant, and then so Uranus is that rebellion, doing things differently, doing things out of the box, independence, Great Awakening, the Great Awakener. Sorry, it's considered the Great Awakener. He might have been very aware of a lot of things because Uranus conjunct ascendant brings a lot of awareness. I know I have it. I have Uranus conjunct the ascendant in Scorpio, and it brings a tremendous amount of awareness. So he might have been on to things and ahead of the curve in some ways. Not being jibber jabbered makes me think that he knew, it cost him. He was going to be in this show, and he wasn't allowed because he wasn't jibber jabbered. And all these, fools are injecting themselves with, poison that's meant to make them ill. Pharmaceutical industry is not here to help us. They do not want healthy people. They want sick people because that's how they make money. That's just, government does not want healthy people. They want less people. They want people to die. And that's just reality. That's just being real. It's taking off the rose-colored glasses, the blindfolds and stuff like that. So he might have been aware of that, right? And he might have been onto things that there was some there was a tweet. I searched for it briefly and I couldn't find it, about him knowing some stuff that could put some famous people into jail. I don't know how accurate that is, but with Uranus conjunct the ascendant in Sagittarius, that's somebody who knows stuff. It really is. It's somebody who's aware of what's going on and who's not a fool. His music might have been considered foolish. I tend to not think very much of his music. Probably a lot of people don't, but the whole pop genre is just icky and kind of gross. It's like bubblegum music. I don't chew bubblegum. It's like inedible. It's just pure superficial crap, if you ask me. But that doesn't mean that he wasn't aware of what's going on. And the whole the face tattoo thing, it could be Uranus conjunct the ascendant. They like to look differently, and it's kind of the trend, especially among the music industry. Not a good trend, if you ask me. Like, I have a few tattoos, and I'm kind of like, I don't even know how I feel about them anymore, because it's like everyone's like tattooing everything these days, and it's like, I don't know, whatever. I'm over it. I don't really care about tattoos anymore. Like, I used to think it was kind of cool, but now I'm like, whatever. Any case, it's way out of hand with the whole face stuff. It's like, you're really not helping yourself. You're really not making yourself better by doing all that. Any case, yeah, there could have been some fishy stuff going on there. And I guess while we're on the subject, there was this one tweet, yo, Kanye, let's talk man to man, right? What's that about? November 3rd, so he died November 5th. So ostensibly that could be real. Maybe there was some unrelated stuff he wanted to talk to Kanye about, or maybe it was related. Maybe he wanted to talk to him about some fishy business, because we all know what Kanye's on about. Kanye thinks it's all about the Jews, but regardless of that, he's on to like the, peeling away the veils of of the music industry, of the industries in general, the government, everything, all of it, politics, social stuff. So Aaron Carter might have been onto that, as a lot of celebrities are, and a lot of dead celebrities have been onto it. Like people who were, wanting to make documentaries about pedophilia in Hollywood and stuff like that, and they wind up dead. It happens, unfortunately. Chris Cornell, Avicii, Anthony Bourdain, who else? I can't remember all the names. Isaac Cappy. Isaac Cappy's a big one. But yeah, and the other possibility is that his handlers tweeted that, and they were already planning his demise as a message to Kanye. Unfortunately, that's kind of like the darker aspect of it, sort of like, hey, Kanye, you better behave, or this is you. Next, dead in the bathtub, OD'd, right? So, it's got to be said, and like, I don't know, whatever. Just, that's something. Take it for what it is. It's speculation. I can't prove it, but anyway, it's interesting. Okay, let's see here. Sun is ruling the 8th house. Okay, Sun in the 12th, kind of, in 12th first, because we can't rule out its proximity to the ascendant. It's in the first whole sign house. So 8th and the 1st is not a great combination. But there's not really any negative aspects to the sun, so that's okay, right? If the sun's part of this grand fire trine, and I left Black Moon Lilith in here because it seems appropriate, especially with the OnlyFans and nude photos and stuff like that. Black Moon Lilith is like the kind of sexuality, often more female sexuality, but I guess it's just as much male sexuality too. And it's part of this grand fire trine, and it's in the 8th house. right? So that makes sense. Ninth whole sign, but because the way it is, this feels eighth house to me. I think it's eighth house because if it was right at the end of Cancer, I'd be like, yeah, that's eighth house fully, right? Because 30 degrees from the descendant would be 25 degrees Cancer, so last 5 degrees of Cancer, but still eighth house, yeah, makes sense. Any case, Grand Fire Trine, that's excellent, for energy, for being recognized, for being noticed, for being seen, for igniting passions and being fiery and popularity and success in general, right? Since we're all in this first house, I mean, he's more of an icon. Like, there's two different kinds of famous people, especially with music or acting. There's the ones who have real talent, and then they're the ones who are just very iconic, right? And he wasn't super iconic, but you can see that it's much more, he's much more of an icon than a talent, right? Because I mean, he doesn't have a great voice. He wasn't a great rapper. I mean, he did some rap. He was an icon. He was, that's what it is. People get famous for being iconic. And when the first house and ascendant are really loaded, that's much more iconic, right? And then he has Saturn ruling, most of the first house, but the second house. So his voice, he sang, but he wasn't a good singer. He was just a singer, right? He was a tolerable singer. Venus ruling the fifth house, creativity in the first, conjunct Neptune. That's good for, the creativity is coming to him. Again, 10th house in the first, fame, career, recognition, public recognition in the first. And Venus is not great in Capricorn, but it's not terrible. And then there's Neptune. Neptune is, imagination, fantasy, drugs, alcohol, movies, film, photography, creative stuff like that. Illusion, delusion, fantasy, and it's opposite Moon. Both these planets. I mean, Venus really, but it's carrying the Neptunian energy as well. So that is, Moon's in Cancer, so it's in good dignity in the seventh house. So he's probably going to attract quality, high-level people to him, and he did. For a man, especially, Moon represents women. So he attracted some top, some celebrity girlfriends, Hillary Duff, and I can't remember who else. He had a lot of different girlfriends. I'm sure he's considered quite attractive to females. Less so with all those face tattoos, which make him look ridiculous and look like when you look like that, it looks like you're on the path to death. When you get your face tattooed, it looks like you're doing a lot of drugs and you're probably going to die soon, traumatically. But Venus opposite Moon shows that relationships, especially with Moon in the seventh house, relationships are really important to him. And he's quite obsessed with relationships. But they're not always going to be super smooth because of the opposition here, but it does show that it's he's really into relationships in general. Because the Moon is the emotional satisfaction. It's in the seventh house opposite Venus, right? Opposite the Moon generally shows the kind of relationships you have. So he's looking for women who are successful, Venus in Capricorn, right? Successful and then good dignity. So he got that. And then, celebrity status, movie stars, other famous people, creative, artists, musicians, things like that. That's the kind of stuff he wants with Venus and Neptune and Capricorn. Neptune can represent glamour, exotic, celebrity, stuff like that. Venus ruling the 5th and the 10th, like I said. Fun, games, romance, entertainment, performance, public career. Well, So he's got a lot of first house activity. The Mercury's here probably more in the 12th, you'd say. Mercury's ruling the 6th of conflict, 6th and 7th. Others, and 9th. And he wrote his music. So I mean, there is a lot of creativity there, you know. Arguably not that great music, but whatever. It's, you know, it's subjective. Some people do appreciate it, right? But that's Mercury in the 12th. You know, it has a very creative. Mercury is writing, communication, expression, obviously. And so that there's, you know, he's writing his own music. And 6th Lord in the 12th house is actually quite good. It shows that he his enemies are, you know, going into isolation, going into the 12th house, disappearing, dissolving, losing. It's good. Good for enemies, good for competition. Yeah. Let's see here. Jupiter is in the 4th, right? And Jupiter is the ascendant lord. So he's going into the 4th house, early childhood, Jupiter success, right? It's part of this grand fire trine, so success at a young age. Jupiter in Aries is okay. It's not great, but it's, you know, Jupiter's Jupiter, and it's clearly in the 4th house. And so as a young child, and also we can see that with South Node, clearly in, I mean, the South Node is square, basically, the ascendant by 3 degrees. And so that shows that this is the very height of the sky, right? It would be 25 degrees Virgo. So he's right in the South Node is right in there for early childhood success. MC is a little further. This is where the sun would be at noon, but here's the actual height of the sky. So South Node is very prominent in Virgo, activating this Mercury. So creativity, still 1st house, you know, lighting up the 1st house, the 12th house, 12th house, and then 1st house. But this stellium, you know, so the energy is moving this way, right into the 1st, 12th, and then 1st. So all that. So early childhood fame, for sure. And then he never fully activated this 3rd house, 3rd, 4th, North Node, because he did not live long enough. Let's see, how old was he when he died? So 30, 34, 35, some in mid-30s. So yeah, so not, you didn't activate the this North Node yet, but starting to, right? It becomes active in the 30s. What else? Yeah, the 4th house is disposited by Mars, which is in domicile conjunct Pluto. And this is very powerful and really shows real prominence with a really strong 11th house, because these are both in domicile in Scorpio. So popularity, career success, wealth from career, hopes, wishes, dreams, groups, networks, even though he's a solo artist, because he has so much 1st house. He was part of a group, right? He was, you know, this shows 2 things, that very popular as a niche artist. 11th house can show popularity, but it also shows like strong groups and circles and networks. So he fit in with the crowd. He was part of the you know, boy band pop music type stuff, especially early on, right? And a lot of career success. There's a trine to the moon. That's really quite good for, you know, popularity, success, expression. The moon is the emotion, so he's able to you know, carry this moon and Pluto are in a healthy way expressing his moon, his heart, his emotions. However, let's see here. Mars ruling the 11th house. and the fourth house. So yeah, Pluto is still Pluto, whether it's in Scorpio or any sign, and planets conjunct Pluto or in difficult aspect to Pluto are challenged, are just difficult. This is a better one because he's able to utilize this energy, the Scorpion and Pluto energy, in a good way, because Mars is also in Scorpio, and it's natural for it, so he can express that. And that's also part of this dark look that he had with all the tattoos and whatnot, this bad boy, this overly sexualized, taking nude photos and charging money for it, which did not go over well, apparently. He got bad reviews for that, but he did it. And that could be this Chiron here, which I haven't talked about. I will. But the really bad part about this is the semi-square to the ascendant. Now, a semi-square is half a square. Square is 90, so 45 degrees. So 45 degrees is exactly 26 degrees. So 25 is the ascendant, Uranus is 26. And Saturn is tied in there as well. So Pluto semi-square the ascendant and Uranus. Uranus represents accidents and trauma. And when it's conjunct the ascendant, I've often said about myself, I could die suddenly because I have Uranus conjunct the ascendant in Scorpio. So Scorpio is death. Uranus is sudden events, accidents. So I mean, I'm not hoping that I do, although I mean, I'm okay with it because I've thought about it a lot and I'm okay with it. But here, Pluto represents death. Pluto and Scorpio and Mars. This is like a very heavy combination here. Pluto and Mars in Scorpio, and then semi-square the ascendant and Uranus. That's dangerous. You want to know why he died? I mean, that's a death combination there, I'd say. Now, I haven't studied like people's death a lot, but that looks very dangerous to me. Ascendant is the self, and then Jupiter is the ascendant lord representing the body. That's disposited by this Mars, right? And then not only that, Chiron is exactly opposite Uranus and the ascendant, right on the descendant. And Chiron on the descendant, I actually have it exactly on my descendant. Almost a few degrees off, but almost exactly. Chiron on the descendant is other people. Chiron on the descendant can attract people who are chironic, wounded, rejects, people with problems, drugs, alcohol, mental illness, things of that nature, because that's Chiron. As a person matures, it can represent the higher expression of Chiron, which is a healer, a teacher, a mystic, a shaman, an astrologer, things of that nature. The higher expression of Chiron is very evolved. The lower expression of Chiron is wounded, rejected, deformed, weird, odd. Could potentially be science or science fiction related, especially in Gemini, like nerdy types, things of that nature. But he's attracting, probably for him, he's attracting some bad influences from the women, some high-level women who also have issues and problems, right? High-level successful celebrity women, models, and that sort of thing, who might also have like a drug or alcohol addiction, things like that. But as well, this is reflecting back on him, especially across opposite Uranus showing, and this is a generational aspect. I have this as well. A lot of people do. So it's not personal to him, except that it's right on his ascendant and descendant. So it is. And it shows, like wounds, like accidents, wounds, shocking things that, and trauma as well. Uranus is the indicator of trauma. I had childhood trauma. He did as well. He claimed abuse from his family members, also from parents. Saturn would relate to that. Authorities, parents abused him. He had issues with his manager. Some people even said that he had the same handler or like sports trainer. They're really, in real life, they're calling it a sports trainer, but it's really the handler. This guy that Kanye's, Kanye's handler, sports trainer, whatever they call him, really a handler. Like, and Kanye tweeted I guess a text that he said sent to Kanye, which is completely absurd, completely insane. Like, do what I tell you, or you're going to be, heavily medicated and committed to, put back in the mental hospital or something like that. It's insane. And so they can do this stuff. They can drug their client because they're all part of a system that is heavily, heavily controlled. And they do not want these celebrities speaking out. And in fact, you cannot become famous nowadays unless you get on board with these psychopaths in charge. I'm just calling it like I see it. I've heard it again and again and again. Like, people do call it out. And if you're aware, which I am keenly aware with Uranus on the ascendant, this stuff is real. It happens all the time. And that's one of the things that Kanye is fighting against. He's a little delusional, like I've said, about, who the real enemies are. It's not the Jews, obviously. It's certain Jewish people and certain non-Jewish people. But ignore the Jew part because it's irrelevant. These are just criminals, regardless of whether they're Jewish or not Jewish. It's just they're criminals, psychopaths. It doesn't matter that they're Jewish. This is like cherry picking. You're ignoring all the non-Jews and being like, oh, look at all the Jews. Yeah, whatever. I mean, I hope you guys get that. I'm sure you do. In any case, he's also got some squares to the nodes, right? And squares to the nodes are really intense. Uranus is square the nodes by 2 degrees. The ascendant is square the nodes. Chiron is square the nodes by 2 degrees. And that is an issue that has to be dealt with. That is something that can happen in the middle of the way, especially with Uranus. When Uranus is square the nodes, it can indicate accidents. You know who else has Uranus square the nodes? Joe Biden. You know what happened to Joe Biden? His wife and son died, right? So, and Joe Biden's Uranus is in the 7th house. So it's others. Okay? This is his ascendant. So this is him. Uranus is conjunct his ascendant. That's, amazingly empowering because Uranus is the great awakener. And I mean, this is my direct experience, but it comes with a great price, right? Especially if they're bad aspects. They can be accidents, right? Horrible accidents, traumatic accidents, and trauma in general, right? And so it's it's a blessing and a curse when you have these powerful planets conjunct your ascendant. It's very iconic. At the same time, it can be, traumatic or like horrible things can come from depends what planets they are. But these outer planets, they're never all good. Uranus, Pluto, Neptune, these are very powerful planets that can produce wonderful results or very, very negative, difficult, painful, horrible results. So you can see that this ascendant is part of, he's got a lot going on here, right? The semi-square between a very powerful Pluto and Mars, which on its own showing that he's extremely popular and great career success, and the girls love him and he's a sex symbol and all that. And then Uranus conjunct the ascendant and Saturn conjunct the ascendant. Saturn would indicate in a negative way authority, issues with authority, especially with this semi-square and this opposition to Chiron, square to the nodes, but also that he, in a more positive way, that he is an authority and a leader. I don't know how much he was, but potentially, and especially if he had lived longer, he could have been, and maybe, less facial tattoos, obviously would have helped him a lot, but in any case, he made his choices. And let's see what else. Uranus opposite Chiron and the square to the nodes. There's so much energy right on his ascendant, so much, and you can see the negativity pouring in over time. That something was bound to happen accidentally. Uranus, like suddenly. So, let's Okay, so somebody in the comments asked me about the timing for his death, and I don't usually look at this, but because a lot of people die, right? But he died young, and he died very recently. It's on everyone's mind a little bit. I mean, there's a whole lot to think about, but this is somewhere on the radar of some people's minds. So let's look at it. This is the day he died. So look at all these Scorpio planets. I mean, really. Never mind the ascendant, because that's going to change depending on where you are. You know, I have it set for Philadelphia, so just ignore that. But Mercury, Sun, South Node, and Venus, all in proximity to each other. Venus is not good in Scorpio because it's opposite Taurus, it's opposite rulership, so it's in detriment. It has some dignity here because Venus is a triplicity lord of the water signs. Daytime triplicity lord, and was daytime there, so has some dignity here. But then coupled with the Pluto and the Mars, it's just activating Scorpio, right? So in Scorpio rules death, and is, you know, his Jupiter, his ascendant lord, is disposited by Mars, so you know, it is translating back to his body, his individuality, his self, right? So that's the main thing. Let's see, Pluto's in Capricorn. Pluto in Capricorn is very heavy in any way, but it's a long transit. I mean, it's not like that alone is going to be responsible for it. It is in conjunct Chiron here, which is, you know, again, and bad aspect to ascendant and Uranus. So that's also not a good sign here. Not a good combination. Mars is directly opposite his ascendant. Again, so that's not great as well. What else? Let's look at, so if we look at the predictive techniques of yearly profection combined with solar return, this is a technique used to figure out, to ascertain a person's year, which is quite accurate. This is a very accurate way of looking at your year from your birthday through birthday to birthday. So this is, let me just, I'll switch 2 and 3, and then we'll make it just a little bit simpler. So I got rid of the transits, and now we're just looking at the solar return. In his yearly profection for this year, it was a Libra profection. So that's 10th house. So this should have been a good year for fame, recognition, career, things of that nature. And then let's look at Venus. Normally his Venus is right here in the first house in Capricorn with Neptune, right? So that's illuminating him, his persona, his body. Here, it's also in the first house in Capricorn, but it's conjunct Pluto and a detriment moon in Capricorn. So Venus, this is the planet for this year for him, for, you know, his year from December 6th of last year of 2021, December 6th, 2021, through to December 6th, 2022 of his following solar return, which we haven't gotten to yet. So this Venus is not good. It's really conjunct a very dark, heavy Pluto in Capricorn. And then Moon is also not good here. And it's in the first house. So that's another indication that things are not so good for him. Now Pluto is also semi-sextile the ascendant and Uranus, and that is not a good aspect because it's a 12th aspect. 12th aspects are not great. They're difficult, represents loss, and just in general, having a difficult aspect to the ascendant and to Uranus, it's activating this. Mars is still in Scorpio in his solar return. Does that make sense? I guess so. Mars was in Scorpio. I guess it was. Yeah, over a year ago. What else? There's a square to Jupiter. No, sorry. There's a square to Saturn between this Mars and Pluto. And I think that's, that's not great. I don't think that would do it necessarily, but some bad aspects to the moon. Let's check his Jupiter. So the moon is squared Jupiter. Jupiter's his ascendant lord, so that's probably not good as well. A debilitating or detriment moon square the Jupiter. It's connecting to this Venus. So in any case, it doesn't look like a good year. His planet for the year, which is Venus, is conjunct a very heavy destructive Pluto. Pluto is the planet of death. So yeah, I would say, I don't predict people's death, and I would never say that, because it's also like, what if you're wrong? You just told somebody that they're gonna die, right? Even if it's indirectly, even if they're not directly hearing you, you're like, I don't even want to put that out there. But I would say that if I came across this chart, I would say this is a difficult year. This is a destructive year for Aaron, because the Venus conjunct Pluto, and Moon's not in good dignity, so he's not happy. Not a happy camper this year. In any case, and drugs could have been an issue, because Pluto definitely brings out those deep desires, and it's infusing Venus with plutonic energy, right, which is very deep, dark, and Venus doesn't even like that. Venus, that's scorpionic energy, right? So it's opposite. It's Taurian nature. So Moon as well does not like it at all. Moon does not like Capricorn or Pluto, right? So not a good year for him. In any case, guys, that's it for Aaron Carter. I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you have not already, and leave a comment down below. Book a reading with me, macro astrology at yahoo.com. That's my website. Macro gold machine at yahoo.com. Wait, macroastrology.com is my website. Macro gold machine at yahoo.com is my email. And that's it for now, guys. I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.